My girlfriend and I opened an antique shop. She's a dabbler, while I'm the expert. After earning over 100 grand from bargain hunting, she confronted me outright. The little brother I've been supporting outside wants me to give him a home. I glanced around at the valuable items in the shop and replied indifferently, "Congratulations." Then, I quietly replaced all the genuine pieces in the store with counterfeits. Zhou quick, tell me what you think of these treasures I hunted down this time. Su Shili finally returned after 3 days of treasure hunting outside. I clicked my tongue in amazement at the items in her hands. Shili, you've got such a sharp eye? Your talent for spotting treasures now makes me feel ashamed of my inferiority. But truthfully, several pieces were modern replicas. Without a decade of expertise, you'd never spot the fakes. One had to admit the forgers were geniuses. Hearing this, Su Shili lifted her chin proudly. Of course, this shop only thrived this year, thanks to my financial luck. It sounded as if I had been riding on her coattails. I chuckled and played along with her words. Absolutely. Without your financial fortune, even if I had all the skills in the world, I'd have nowhere to use them. Suddenly, I shifted the topic. This morning, a student mentioned he had a treasure to show you, but he left when he saw you weren't here. A perfectly ordinary statement, yet Su Shili's expression instantly tensed up. Did he say anything? I shook my head slightly. He left when he saw you weren't here. Didn't mention what the treasure was. Su Shili secretly breathed a sigh of relief. We'll deal with it when he comes back next time. Truth is, I knew exactly what treasure that student wanted to show her. A treasure every man possesses. Earlier that morning, a timid student had hesitantly come to the shop. I recognized him instantly. He'd been visiting frequently these past 2 months, always asking specifically for Su Shili to appraise his items. Today, he suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Bro, what should I do if I accidentally got someone pregnant?" I paused slightly, thinking, why are you asking me about getting someone else pregnant? If you wanted me to appraise some treasure, that'd be one thing, but I'm no expert on matters like this. I instinctively asked, "Is it your classmate?" He remained silent for a few seconds before timidly saying, "It's your employee." My employee? Everyone knows it's just me and my girlfriend running this antique shop. Where would I get so-called employees? But then I immediately realized the employee he meant was actually my girlfriend Su Shili. I was so furious I nearly hit him, but then reconsidered. What good would beating him up do? I said coldly. If you don't want her to lose her job, you'll keep this matter to yourself. Hearing T.S., the student quickly fled the shop. Shaoli, when exactly are you going to agree to marry me? I suddenly blurted out. Because I loved her too much, I couldn't bear to easily give up this relationship. As long as she said yes, I would forgive and forget all those mistakes she made behind my back. However, Su Shili's face suddenly darkened. Didn't I tell you before? I'm not ready to get married yet. Our careers have finally gotten on track. Do you expect me to abandon mine now? I stared straight into Su Shili's eyes, still trying to find traces of love for me in them, but all efforts proved futile. She didn't even spare me a direct glance. I said calmly, "Then you wouldn't do anything to betray me, would you?" Su Shili's expression became awkward. "Of course not. I still need you to appraise items for me." So to her, I was just a free tool after all. I heaved a heavy sigh, then looked around at the antiques on the shelves, having already conceived the perfect means of revenge. That evening, my mother called saying Su Shili's mother had invited our family to dinner tonight. I bought a bag of baby supplies as a gift. Originally, Su Shili's mother looked pleased when she saw me carrying the gift. But when she saw clearly what I had brought, her face fell immediately. "Zhou, what do you mean by giving this?" I smiled slightly without further explanation. I thought Shaoli might need these later, so I bought them in advance. Her mother looked displeased. "Didn't my daughter tell you? She doesn't want to get married yet. She wants to focus on her career first. We'll talk about marriage later. Aren't you sending these things now to show your dissatisfaction with us? Do you think our Shaoli is holding you back?" I waved my hand. "Auntie, you've misunderstood. I really didn't think that much." Seeing my sincere expression, her mother finally let me off, but couldn't resist adding, "Zhou, stop wasting your energy on these underhanded tactics. What really matters now is helping Shaoli make money together. If you dare to block our Su family's path to wealth, don't blame me for refusing to marry Shaoli to you later." Hearing Su Shili's mother's somewhat threatening words, I couldn't help but feel absurd. A woman who's been fooling around behind my back, as if I'd be desperate to marry her. At this point, not only do I not want to marry her, I'd feel disgusted even if she were handed to me for free. I knew it wasn't the best time yet to expose Su Shili's secret, so I could only swallow my anger and nod. At the dinner table, my mother asked, "Sister, encountered some good news? You look radiant." Su Shili's mother shook her head with a smile. "There is indeed good news." Auntie San, who had tense relations with Su Shili's family, suddenly sneered from the side. "Elder sister, Shaoli's belly seems slightly rounded. Could she already be pregnant?" "Aunt," Su Shili, accidentally hit where it hurt, flushed with anger. Auntie San, you can eat carelessly, but you can't speak carelessly. Her mother didn't spare any face in retorting. My daughter's still a virgin. How could she be pregnant? Looks like you're the one who's pregnant, if anything. The originally harmonious dinner immediately descended into chaos. The furious third aunt launched indiscriminate attacks. Just look at that little belly of hers. It's definitely pregnancy. Unless she's not carrying Zhou Yang's child, but some other bastards. The situation exploded into chaos as her mother physically grappled with third aunt. Su Xiuli flushed with shame and anxiety, tearful eyes fixed on me. When I remained unmoved, she redirected her attack towards me. What are you standing there dumbstruck for? Don't you know to defend me when third aunt slanders me? I sneered coldly. Oh, come now. Third aunt was just joking. Since you're not actually pregnant, why take it so seriously? You think I'm being petty? She slandered me for being pregnant out of nowhere. This concerns my reputation, and you're actually saying I'm the one making a fuss? Zhou Yang, do you still have any conscience left? I was speechless, my hand itching to slap her right then and there. After doing all those things behind my back, how dare she play the innocent lily, act in front of me now? The commotion finally subsided after being stopped by relatives, and I no longer wanted to delay. I just wanted to reclaim what was rightfully mine as soon as possible. A week later, I'd quietly swapped out over half of the valuable antiques in the shop without anyone noticing. That day, Su Xiuli suddenly called out to me, startling me. Though still half-baked in her skills, she had some discernment. My first thought was that she'd discovered something. Turning around, I saw her holding a bronze mirror. Zhou Yang, take a look at this. How much do you think it's worth? I took the bronze mirror from Su Xiuli's hands, an icy chill spreading from my palm through my entire body. Some artifacts reveal their authenticity the moment you hold them. This mirror was undoubtedly the genuine article. Now came the moment of truth, putting my acting skills to the test. I examined it repeatedly in my hands, brows furrowing tightly one moment and relaxing the next. Is it real or not? This cost me nearly 10 grand. Only 10 grand. I couldn't help but marvel at Su Xiuli's luck. She'd scored quite a few bargains since opening the shop. Had she been more diligent during her apprenticeship with me and put in real effort, I'd never have been able to pull off these tricks under her nose now. Still, I owed her some gratitude. When she first asked me to teach her, I'd poured all my knowledge into her training. But Su Xiuli was inherently lazy. Even after turning profits, she never bothered to hone her craft. Her sole ambition was to exploit me as her free tool, but I wasn't that foolish. Sigh. I shoved the bronze mirror in my hand back. You've been scammed. I wouldn't even pay 50 for this. Su Xiuli's face looked more devastated than if she'd heard her mother died when she realized she'd lost money. I quickly pretended to comfort her. It's not your fault. They must have used the latest aging techniques. Even I nearly fell for it. Just put it at the front of the display and wait for the right buyer. I turned around and immediately messaged my good friend to come buy the mirror cheaply for me. Truthfully, I wanted to keep swapping fakes, but not all items can be replicated quickly. To play it safe, I urged my friend to come buy the mirror that afternoon. My friend delivered. He showed up immediately after lunch. He casually lingered near the bronze mirror several times. Watching from the counter, Su Xiuli looked like she had ants crawling in her heart. Finally, she couldn't hold back anymore and approached my friend. Sir, you might want to look at this bronze mirror. It was just delivered recently. My friend held it in his hands and examined it for a moment, then asked Su Xiuli about the price. Su Xiuli dared not set the price too high for fear of scaring him off, yet also feared pricing it too low might make it seem counterfeit. Eventually, she quoted 15,000 yuan. After some contemplation, my friend counteroffered 3,000 yuan, and they settled on 12,000 yuan. As Su Xiuli turned away, an uncontrollable smile crept across her lips. She must have thought, not only did she sell that fake item, but she even made a small profit of 2,000 yuan. If she'd known this mirror was actually worth 80,000 to 90,000 yuan, I bet she'd be sick with regret. I'd nearly finished replacing all the antique pieces that could be swapped in the shop, just waiting for the right time to confront Su Xiuli. That day, the college student Chen Kai showed up again. He opened by asking where Su Xiuli was, and coincidentally, she had just returned from outside at that moment. Upon seeing him, Su Xiuli reacted with both surprise and delight, hurriedly stepping forward to take over his reception from me. Xiao Chen, what treasures have you brought for your sister to appraise this time? The student feigned mystery, saying, Sister, this item shouldn't be revealed in public. Su Xiuli instantly understood. Let's go to the back room. I'll pour you tea, and we'll appraise it properly over drinks. As she spoke, she turned to me and said, Last time, we made 10,000 yuan profit immediately after he sold that ancient coin. Who knows what treasure he's brought now? Keep an eye on the shop. I must see what this treasure is. I nodded in agreement. Watching Su Xiuli, still unaware I knew the truth, putting on her act in front of me, I found it both repulsive and amusing. Soon after, I watched them enter the private reception room while I continued attending to customers in the front. I pricked up my ears to listen to the commotion in the back room. When the timing felt right, I crept to the door and suddenly burst into the room. There I saw Su Xiuli locked in an embrace with Chen Kai. Fury erupted within me. I raised my voice to maximum volume, ensuring every customer in the store could hear. Weren't you appraising treasures? Or were you appraising the bastard in your belly? The two sprang apart like they'd been electrocuted. Su Xiuli immediately threw herself sobbing into my arms. Darling, he assaulted me. He said he had a great treasure to show me, but when I approached, he grabbed me and wouldn't let go. I was afraid customers would hear and call me shameless, ruining our business. I didn't dare make a sound. Her fabricated grievances poured out with increasing drama. Suppressing my disgust, I glared at the terrified Chen Kai cowering in the corner. Is what she's saying true? Zhou Yang, don't you trust me? Su Xiuli raised her head, fake tears streaming down continuously. I looked down at Su Xiuli. Of course I know you couldn't possibly be that kind of person. I'm just considering he's a student, wanting to give him a chance. If it were anyone else, I'd have beaten him to death long ago. Chen Kai in the corner was trembling, unable to utter a single word for the longest time. It was her who seduced. Seeing the affair about to be exposed, Su Xiuli rushed forward and slapped Chen Kai twice across the face. Get out now. Wait till my boyfriend breaks your legs later. Chen Kai tried to bolt immediately. As I moved to chase after him, Su Xiuli clung to me desperately. He's just a student. Don't bother with him. What if the school finds out and he gets expelled? Wouldn't we be ruining his entire life then? Watching Su Xiuli so blatantly protect her lover, my anger began to boil over. Am I supposed to just swallow this humiliation silently? Su Xiuli let out a scream as I violently knocked her to the ground. Xiaoli, what's wrong? I pointed at her lower body stained red. Su Xiuli screamed again. Quick, take me to the hospital, save our baby. After saying this, she immediately passed out from the pain. When she woke up and saw me sitting by the bed, she had no time to feign sorrow. A flash of guilt crossed her face before I could question her. She burst into tears. I'm sorry, husband. We've lost our child. I played along with feigned ignorance. Our child. Su Xiuli sobbed hysterically. Yes. I was actually 1 month pregnant with your baby. But I didn't tell you earlier because I didn't want to affect your work. A woman unwilling to marry me was willing to bear my child? This was a lie even an elementary student could CTH. Rough, yet Su Xiuli still thought she could fool me. I suppressed my disgust and patted her head. Xiaoli, I'm sorry you've suffered. It's all my fault. I failed to protect you. Su Xiuli wiped her tears. Don't blame yourself. The fault lies with me. I continued comforting her. Don't cry anymore. Rest well these days. Leave the shop matters to me. We'll have another child when you recover. Su Xiuli blinked her big eyes at me. You really won't blame me? Rest assured, I definitely won't blame you. Looking at Su Xiuli's pale cheeks, my heart was blooming with joy. This hospitalization would keep her bedridden for at least half a month. Ample time to replace every single item in the shop. That day, just as I swapped in a commissioned imitation of a Qing Dynasty blue and white porcelain piece, a sudden voice from behind startled me. Zhou Yang, you've been working hard while Xiaoli's away. I turned to see Su Xiuli's mother standing there. I knew Su Xiuli would never trust me to manage the shop alone. She was waiting for me here all along. I know you're working hard. I'll come help at the shop while Xiaoli's away. Help? Like mother, like daughter. She actually dares to call surveillance, helping so brazenly. I wanted to refuse but feared arousing suspicion, forcing an immediate change to an ingratiating smile. Auntie, then I'll trouble you. Before I could finish, she cut me off. Don't call me Auntie. From now on, call me Mom. Next month, I'll arrange your wedding with Xiaoli. In the past, these words would have thrilled me. Now, my heart remained still as stagnant water, even stirring disgust. Checking the time, I understood perfectly. The reason Su Xiuli and her mother scheduled the wedding for next month was undoubtedly because she'd secured a major deal by month's end. Completing this transaction could ensure her financial security for half her lifetime. The two of them, mother and daughter, conspired to use marriage as bargaining chip, making me serve faithfully as their tool. Watching Mother Su's busy figure, I couldn't help but sneer. Since she's so eager to help, I'll let her help in ways that backfire. When Su Xiuli blames someone later, it won't be me. Just then, a customer came to inspect goods. As I stepped forward, Mother Su pushed me aside. Zhou Yang, go handle other matters. Let me take care of this. Feigning concern, I said, Mom, you're an outsider. I'm worried you might make mistakes, and then Xiaoli would. Her face darkened. What do you mean outsider? Isn't your antique trading just like selling scrap? You're making it sound sophisticated to impress me. Besides, this shop belongs to my daughter. Can't I even make the decisions here? Under normal circumstances, hearing such words would have infuriated me, but now I couldn't be happier about her interference. The most valuable items in the store had already been swapped out anyway. These remaining pieces could stay for those destined to have them. The customer had a sharp eye, immediately spotting the misprinted coin in the corner. Such items couldn't be counterfeited, so I hadn't dared to replace this one. He examined the coin, then glanced at me. I deliberately excused myself to give him more room to maneuver. From the back room, I heard the man offer 5,000. Su Xioli's mother exclaimed in surprise, 5,000. That single response exposed her utter lack of expertise to the buyer. Thinking herself clever, she tried to raise the price by 2,000. But after some calculated bargaining from the man, the misprinted coin ultimately sold for 6,000. Little did she know, such rarities have no fixed market value. To put it bluntly, this was practically a priceless treasure. If Su Xioli ever discovers her mother sold it for mere 6,000, she'd probably vomit blood on the spot. Yet speak of the devil and he shall appear, as Su Xioli's voice inopportunely sounded from outside. Mom, how's the shop's business? Su Xioli's mother rushed forward excitedly with the 6,000 yuan she'd just received. Look, I made a sale right after arriving. Then she lowered her voice. I had that person transfer the money directly to your account. Su Xioli chuckled. Mom, you really get me. I'll treat you to a feast after I'm discharged. Let me see what you sold. Just some worthless fake trinket from your shop. Fake trinket. Su Xioli's brows furrowed slightly, sensing trouble. What fake trinket? Just a misprinted coin, probably fished out from some garbage dump. What did you say? Su Xioli's pallid face flushed crimson with rage. She swung her palm and slapped her mother. Su Xioli, have you gone mad? Her mother glared fiercely at her daughter, clutching her cheek. Su Xioli's face twisted with rage. You're the one who's gone mad. Do you have any idea that misprinted coin cost me 100,000 yuan to acquire? And you sold it for 6,000? Zhou Yang, where the hell are you? Get out here right now. I stifled a chuckle and emerged leisurely from the back room. Xiali, what's wrong? You're still recovering. You shouldn't get so worked up. Su Xioli's finger trembled violently as she pointed at my nose. Where were you just now? When customers came in, why did you make my mother handle it? You know she's clueless about this. But she was the one who. My explanation was cut off by her mother. Exactly. Zhou Yang, you knew I'm clueless, yet you deliberately made me serve them. Isn't this you deliberately trying to sabotage me? Su Xioli kicked me. I don't care what you do, get that misprinted coin back immediately. I calmly took out my phone and played the recording with her mother. The older woman's face immediately darkened. Pretending to be wronged, I said, didn't you ask your mom to watch the shop? This shop is yours by right. When your mom uses your name to act, how could I refuse? Su Xioli instantly lost her temper, glaring viciously at her mother. Her mother looked desperately miserable. She rushed out and actually dragged the customer back inside. She knelt before him with a thud. Please give that coin back to me. Seeing her current pitiful state compared with her earlier arrogance, I could barely suppress my smirk. The customer shot Su Xioli an incredulous look. Boss Su, a deal is a deal in the business world. Are you trying to ruin your own reputation? The threat in the customer's words was unmistakable. Breaking the rules would essentially ruin this antique shop's reputation. Su Xioli stared longingly at the error coin in the customer's hand, her heart undoubtedly bleeding with regret. Sorry, boss, my mother was in the wrong here. Let's proceed with the original transaction. We'll trouble you to continue supporting our business in the future. After seeing off the customer, Su Xioli's mother remained kneeling on the floor, not daring to look up at us. Su Xioli said gravely, from now on, she can fetch tea and water for you, but never let her touch the shop's business dealings. Su Xioli grew angrier the more she thought about it, her breathing becoming heavier involuntarily, until she finally fainted from sheer rage. After this incident, though Su Xioli's mother remained in the shop as surveillance, she'd clearly lost her former air of authority. I showed no mercy either, seizing every opportunity to order her around. Whether fetching tea, sweeping floors, or dusting rooms, I delegated all these tasks to her. Zhou Yang, I didn't come here to be your waitress. Seeing her defiant expression, I immediately used the coin mix-up incident to pressure her. Mom, I don't want you doing these menial tasks either, but you're just not cut out for business matters. If we have another incident like last time, do you think Xioli would still acknowledge you as her mother? As Su Xioli's mother, she naturally knew her daughter's temper. If truly provoked, cutting off relations was absolutely something she'd do. Though her face darkened, she didn't dare utter another word. I assigned increasingly more trivial tasks to Su Xioli's mother, causing her to spend less time at the shop, which gave me more opportunities to maneuver. Before we knew it, month-end arrived. The former antique shop had essentially become a counterfeit store now. For this major end-of-month deal, Su Xioli, who originally needed another week of hospitalization, was discharged early. Feigning concern, I asked, Xioli, you could have entrusted everything to me. She glanced at me coolly, her words dripping with distrust. I don't feel at ease. I didn't say anything more. Thankfully, the transaction went smoothly, and we ultimately earned 2 million. Seeing the radiant smile on Su Xiuli's face, I quietly asked, Xiaoli, how about we pick an auspicious date and get married next month? The moment I spoke, Su Xiuli's smile froze. Get married? Yes. Didn't you say you'd marry me next month? Su Xiuli laughed, but this time her laughter was laced with scorn. Zhou, you think you're worthy of marrying me? Do you even know the child I lost last time wasn't yours? What did you say? Enraged, I slapped her across the face. Su Xiuli remained unfazed. Zhou, you're a toad lusting after swan meat. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Get out of my shop right now. When I first started this antique shop, 80% of the funding came from me. But Su Xiuli whispered sweet nothings in my ear, saying if I truly loved her, I should register the shop solely under her name. Back then I was still a love-struck fool. Without hesitation, I transferred ownership to her. Though I've already swapped out most of the valuable items in the shop, this remains a business I built with my own hands. The injustice still stings deep in my heart. On what grounds? You fucking cheated on me behind my back, and now you dare steal my shop too? Your shop? Don't forget which pathetic dog voluntarily transferred this shop solely into my name. Su Xiuli adopted a shameless smirk. If you're dissatisfied, go sue me. Unconsciously, my eyes reddened and my voice began trembling. Su Xiuli, must you really go this far? Without me these past years, do you honestly believe you'd have achieved anything? Su Xiuli snorted coldly. Zhou, stop inflating your own worth here. Suddenly, a sly smile crept onto her face. If you work for me, I'll pay you 3,000 a month. Consider this my utmost generosity. 3,000 counts as utmost generosity. So Su Xiuli truly doesn't see me as human at all. I don't fucking want it. Su Xiuli, just you wait. I'll make sure you regret this. I turned to leave, but Su Xiuli hurled a wedding invitation at me. The photo on it showed Su Xiuli and that former student of hers, Chen Kai. Don't worry, Zhou. The one regretting will never be me. I attended Su Xiuli's wedding as scheduled. Guests whispered behind my back. Can't believe he actually showed up. His ex-girlfriend married another man less than 2 weeks after dumping him. If I were him, I'd want to bash my head against a wall. What's the big deal? You don't even know. He was directly kicked out by Su Xiuli, completely ending up losing both the person and the money. Listening to their gossip, I wasn't angry at all. I'd already sold half of the swapped antiques from the antique store and earned around 5 million. As for people, being able to see through a bitch like Su Xiuli early is my bless. ING. When she saw me, Su Xiuli's mother approached. Zhou, I never thought you'd actually have the gall to show up. Don't tell me you're really here to beg her to stay back, just like Xiaoli guessed. Let me advise you to abandon that notion early. You're not worthy of marrying my daughter. I chuckled. Do you really think I'd covet such a worthless commodity as your daughter? I'm here today precisely to watch the comedy show. As I spoke, I pulled out 200 yuan from my pocket and shoved it into her hand. Consider this my admission fee. Comedy show? Su Xiuli's mother threw the money to the ground. My daughter has now married a wealthy and powerful husband who's even younger than you. Do you think people are laughing at you or at us? Zhou, I always thought you had at least a bit of cleverness in you. But now I see I was mistaken. As she spoke, the venue lights suddenly dimmed. The host raised the microphone. Please welcome our newlyweds. Su Xiuli, dressed in pure white wedding gown and holding a bouquet, entered the venue gracefully to melodious music. This was the scene I had dreamed of countless times, one that always filled me with overwhelming happiness. Su Xiuli suddenly shot me a cold glare, making me realize our relationship had long ended. I responded with a meaningful smile. Still oblivious, Su Xiuli only sensed something wrong when she reached the center stage. The groom Chen Kai, who should have appeared with her, was nowhere to be found. The host tried urging again. Let's welcome our groom to the stage. Don't keep the bride waiting too long. I smiled. The groom won't come. He ran away long ago. Su Xiuli rushed down the stage in a fluster. Zhou, what exactly did you do? I shrugged helplessly. I didn't do anything. When Chen Kai first approached me, I specifically asked friends to investigate his background. In truth, he wasn't some young master from a wealthy family at all, just a freshly graduated unemployed drifter scamming for meals and drinks everywhere. His agreement to marry Su Xiuli was merely a delaying tactic. The moment he heard Su Xiuli had lost the baby she was carrying, he immediately wanted to flee the city. I gave him some money and intentionally made him keep up this act with Su Xiuli until today, just to humiliate her on this very day. Speak. What exactly did you do? Give me back my husband. Hearing the rising whispers around her, Su Xiuli anxiously shed tears. I ignored her tears and coldly mocked. Aren't you skilled at seducing men? Why don't you just grab any man here to marry you right now? Zhou, you bastard. Su Xiuli tried to slap me again, but I preemptively slapped her twice backhanded before walking away coolly. That day, just as I finished handling the last batch of antiques, Su Xioli came knocking at my door. Before she could speak, Aisha Shan adopted a teasing tone. Well, if it isn't Boss Su, what brings you here? Su Xioli's hair looked dry and brittle, her eyes unfocused. Clearly she hadn't been doing well lately. She violently threw a black bundle in front of me. Zhou Yang, you fucking swapped my goods. I'll sue you. I urgently stopped her. Boss Su, spreading rumors carries consequences. Careful, I sue you for defamation. Defamation? Most items in the shop were personally sourced by me. You think I can't tell real from fake? Hurry up and say it. Where did you hide all my treasures? Hand them over now, or you'll face a lawsuit. I chuckled. Boss Su, how could you be like this? You clearly had poor judgment and bought counterfeit goods, yet you blame me? Bullshit. Su Xioli opened the black bundle. Zhou Yang, which item here didn't I have you appraise back then? You fucking dare say it's my problem now? I warn you, I'm not that easily fooled. Watching Su Xioli's flustered and furious appearance, I felt secretly thrilled. If she weren't so easily fooled, I wouldn't have nearly emptied her entire shop. I scratched my head. Boss Su, I'm truly sorry. It's all my fault. Good that you know it's your fault. Either return my collection intact or compensate me 20 million. I continued smiling. Boss Su, you misunderstood. I mean, it's all due to my lack of skill. I misjudged these items. I self-deprecated. Why didn't I recognize these treasures were all counterfeits back then? But you should forgive me. After all, even when judging people, I make misjudgments. Zhou Yang, are you fucking kidding me right now? Fine. We'll see about this. If I don't sue you until you're penniless, my surname isn't Su. Watching Su Xioli's dejected figure retreating into the distance, I felt inexplicably refreshed. Though Su Xioli sued me in court, the case was dismissed due to insufficient evidence. Su Xioli had repaid all the 2 million she previously earned, yet remained debt-ridden. Debt collectors haunted her daily, and her antique shop teetered on collapse. As I prepared to travel with my earned 20 million, Su Xioli reappeared on my departure day. Seeing me about to leave, Su Xioli thudded to her knees. Darling, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I'll quit being store manager. I'll return the antique shop to you. I chuckled. Su Xioli, do you think I'm stupid enough to take back your dumpster fire? Su Xioli suddenly sprang up and clung to me tightly. Let's start over then. Suppressing my disgust, I forcefully pushed her away. Aren't you yourself a mess now? Su Xioli wept bitterly with snot and tears. Zhou Yang, how can you be so heartless? After all these years of feelings, can you just let go like this? I chuckled. Su Xioli, I collect antiques, not trash. A tainted piece of garbage like you who betrayed and cheated. Even if given to me for free, I consider it bad luck and disgusting. Darling, a graceful woman appeared at the doorway. Su Xioli looked at me in disbelief. Who is she? I abandoned Su Xioli and went to meet her. Forgot to introduce. This is my darling.